I read his HN to 4. I decided to change pace a little bit this week, and instead of filming exclusively about events, I decided I would also kind of do like a dive into my publishing process, because this year currently, I say currently in case something changes, but currently I am set to publish 12 books this year. We are mid-February right now, and I will have 5. Yes, I will have 5 done by March 14th that are released. And technically all of those will also be on the ebooks. Some of them, as the year goes on, specifically the off-grid billionaires books. So these books, the colored page ones for events, these eventually, I think after the Colorado volume, which I think that ebook will release in August. After that, there's like 4 of them that come out in 2025 as physical books that won't be released as ebooks until 26. So, got a lot going on. So I'll do like a breakdown of what's on here too, but I just wanted to like do a real fast breakdown of what I use to track everything. So I have this, I just made it actually because I'm a visual person and I wanted to be able to see stuff. So I have a calendar on my Canva that I downloaded, and it's all color coded on when certain things are due. So I think I have release days, ARC days, when to get things to my editor, my travel days. There was something else. I think I had different colors for physical and ebook releases, since it's all different as the year goes on. Okay, I also have this, which is just a spreadsheet with like entirely too much information. Oops, scrolled too far, but it's got like everything in there for all my dates, my releases, and then I have a book index with like the length and everything of my books, and then a series index. There's a lot of indexes, and I put it's Dufour Bible and timelines on my computer. I also have a whiteboard over there. Don't mind the dresser. That's not really a dresser. We're working on that. Okay, so as far as writing books goes, I guess I'm technically a rapid release author because of the 1 a month thing, which I think like makes people think I'm more successful than I am. At the time I'm making this video, so it's February 15th, at the time I'm making this video, I still don't make income full-time. And I know that can be based on your audience, if you're rapid releasing, if there's breaks, if your book is high in the store, all of those things. But I write these little, don't mind my hand, I write these little novella books. Okay, so I have 3 of them right now. I'm working on the 4th. That's what I should be doing when I'm filming this video, but I didn't want to do that. So instead, I decided to make a video about my publishing process. Essentially, anything this size, little novellas, anything like this, I write this in a week when I actually sit down and do the actual writing. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the next one. It'll be Nevada, and I know I'm gonna finish it, so I'm procrastinating, which is terrible. But it's because I know this is like what I'm good at, is writing things really fast and then stressing myself out. I live in a land of stress. So I know I'm going to finish it, and I'm not like overly worried about actually meeting my deadline on that. I just need to do it and stop procrastinating. But I think at the beginning of this video, I said that I wanted to write, or I had planned originally to write 12 books this year. I have 12 books still to write if I keep to all my deadlines, and that doesn't include a co-write that I do with Manship, and it doesn't include working on the anthology I'm in next year that I have to get done. Like, it doesn't include certain things, so I'm trying to be flexible with these things. In case I don't hit all of those books, I'd love to hit all the off-grid billionaires books because I want to do something with them at the end of the year. But I also have to be realistic. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm with a kid all the time. 2 kids, because I watch my niece a lot. And writing is either, for me, it's either like free-flowing and fast, or I just stare at the screen and wonder what's wrong with me. So of those 12 books, I still have to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are novellas. One of them's an anthology piece, so it has a limit no matter what. And it'll probably become longer like once it leaves the anthology, because the plan is for it to probably be the first of 4 books called For Her Pleasure Quartet. So I'm sure that that will get more work. I don't know if I can continue doing a book a year next year, but in theory, once I finish my Sins and Secrets series, then I will have, like, if I could, every other month I would publish the Off-Grid Billionaire novellas for whatever isn't published as an ebook yet until I'm done. If the series does okay, I'll probably continue writing them in 26, but we'll see what happens. So, aside from those 6 books that are novellas that I said I can write in a week usually, especially the Off-Grid Billionaires ones, because it's pretty much the same formula each time, just a different pairing relationship. They are usually, I aim for like 12 to 15 for the story, and then after edits they usually end up being between 17 and 20,000. So it's not like they're incredibly long, and I think I'm almost at 10 right now with the one I'm writing, so we'll be done by my deadline. In my little spreadsheet, I put down my release date and I work backwards from there so I can figure out if it's reasonable or chaotic for what I want to do with my publishing schedule. So I have all my release dates and I color coded by months this year. Basically, I put in all the books in the very furthest column, the A column or whatever. I put them in there, and then I do release date at the very end and work backwards from that. So my arc date at this point in time, every book pretty much gets 2 weeks for arc readers. It's been a little touch and go because of all the books, the 5 books that have been published already this year. I feel like I've stressed out my arc readers a little. They're kind of quiet right now, so we'll have to work on that. And part of publishing this fast is also deciding as I get further into a series if I'm going to continue doing arcs or if I'm just going to have like X amount of freebies for the arc readers who are like active. I don't know. That's something I really have to talk about. And I currently have 2 PAs, so I am going to try and brainstorm with them because I'm not using them very much, which is tragic. So essentially I work backwards from my release date. So for example, Nevada Volume will be released, the ebook, on April 4th. So I need to send it to my ARC readers, in theory, by March 21st, which gives them 2 weeks. It's very short, so I imagine that's enough time. Also, these books, I have a special date in here for when I need to order books, specifically if they're special edition. I'll probably start doing it for Amazon too, because I've heard they have really terrible shipping right now, and I haven't had to order that many books from them, but I will soon. So I typically put a special edition date based on how long that the printing company typically takes. So currently it's February 26th for the Nevada volume. I need to send it to my editor no later than February 17th, so that's 2 days from the time I'm recording this video. And then get the revisions back from her for the novellas. It's an incredibly fast turnaround time, so I think I only gave myself 5 days and then 4 days after that to format, but it's all a formula now. I have a template, so I just plug everything in for these novellas. It doesn't take very long. They're fast turnarounds. I plug them into, I use Book Vault to print the colored pages, and then they ship them to me, typically pretty fast. And I've only ever had the colored page books. I've only ever had one order where I had like slate lines at the bottom. They're pretty good, so I recommend them if you're looking for special editions. I've heard some people have issues. I haven't had that yet. The one issue order I did have, they reprinted everything for me, so it wasn't a big deal. So I consider myself a pantster, largely because even though I have all these dates plotted, the books are not. At the end of, I just wrote a fantasy book, Beneath Swan Lake. So at the end of that book, as soon as I was done and knew the plot wasn't going to change anymore, I opened a new doc and I put everything I was thinking about for the next book, like what I think the characters are going to do, things that need to be addressed from book 2 into book 3, where all the characters are at the moment, and like anything big that needs to happen to follow the fairy tales, I put everything into a document, not organized. It was just like as it came to mind, so that hopefully when I get back to writing book 3, I don't have to dig again through all of my notes to figure out what the heck's going on. Because fantasy is very hard for me. The second book, Beneath Swan Lake, was the first time I've ever pushed back a deadline. Hold on. Okay, so book 2 is Beneath Swan Lake. I don't have a printout of it yet. That comes out on March 14th, so about a month from now. I'm waiting on my files from the cover designer, and then I'll order my proofs, so that at least the paperback goes live at the same time that the special edition does, and then the special edition's probably not going to be out until April, so I give myself time to get all the formats and also get them in. But when I wrote this book, I took terrible notes. Now I've gone through and done a lot of tabbing. You can see where I gave up and stopped because 1, my kid tore all the tabs up, and 2, I was tired. And I read the end of this book when I was writing book 2 significantly more than the beginning, so I remembered more of it. But at the beginning of the second book, I realized I canceled out a whole huge plot point in the first book, so I had to go back, and it took forever to get out of that rut. So it took me about 2 months to write the second fantasy book. It's also 100 pages shorter than this one. It might be more than that, actually. Yeah, about 100 pages. And like 35,000, I think, is what it came to. It was like 38,000 less than the first book. So fantasy is not fast for me. And if I follow my schedule, the third book will be out in October. I think beginning of October. So I really have to make sure I'm on top of all my deadlines. I have like some stuff written out in a notebook too, because I need to visualize it before I plug it into a calendar or it doesn't work. That's the only other fantasy book I plan on writing this year because it's such a slow process for me. I do have a rapid release trilogy, and I'm not quite sure how long those books are going to be. I think they're going to be longer than the little tiny novella books. They're definitely going to probably be between 50 and 70,000 words a piece. Hopefully at least 60, but we'll see what happens. It'll be a rapid release trilogy in May, June, and July. A PR management company is handling that for me, so I'm excited for them to handle all the work, and I just send it off to them. Despite having the 2 PAs, then I can use my PAs for other things, and they don't even have to worry about arcs for 3 months. And I'm hoping, I've never done this before, where I finish a whole series like boom, boom, boom. There's usually other books and breaks between them. But essentially, this What's Left trilogy happens between certain books in the Sins and Secrets world. There's like a timeline overlap, so you can read them in tandem, or you can read one series and then the other. But to finish out the Sins and Secrets series, I really want these characters to return to the club, so I can't finish this series until the trilogy is done. So that's where we are. That's the hole I dug myself. And I decided to rapid release them because typically I can write very fast. So we'll see if that's still the case after this. 50,000 to 70,000 is going to take me a little longer. It's not going to take a week. That probably takes me 3 weeks once I know what the plot is. That's not the original drafts where I am spiraling, trying to figure out how to tie all this together. And then I imagine the first book is probably going to take me some time in editing because it takes place during book 4 of the Sins and Secret series, Slice of Desire, and they have conversations between the characters in What's Left, so Joe and Vinny, who went to Florida, and the characters in Slice of Desire, who are currently running the club. There's text messages and conversations that happen, and I don't know how much they're going to be highlighted, so we'll see. But I better take some dang good notes so I can get those off to my editor incredibly fast. And in between those, to match up with the books that are coming with me to events, I'm writing the Off-Grid Billionaires. So we'll see. We'll see. I miscounted. So I have 7 novellas. 6 of them are from the Off-Grid Billionaires series, so there should be 9 by the end of the year. 1 is the Anthology novella. so that's 7 more books to write this year. The 3 What's Left books in the trilogy, so that's 10. And then the 6th book in Sins and Secrets, which will be 11. And then Across the Frostlands, which is book 3 in the Deadly Ending series, so there's 12. That's only by October. I might not publish anything in November. I would like to publish my co-write in November or December. If we get there, we haven't started it yet for the year, so we'll see what happens. We both have a lot going on. And I wanted to do a secondary Christmas story in the Sins and Secrets, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I would like to publish at least in November or December, but by then, if I'm having too much burnout, we're gonna stop. We're gonna just call it the end. So essentially, my way of writing and plotting is I plan out what I want to publish for the year. And I used to do this when I didn't have 12 books. I just plotted what I wanted to release that year, or what genre, or what series, or whatever. And then figured out like how much time those would take and what length I thought, which is easier when you have an idea of either what you're writing or if you want to keep it around the same length as other books in the series. Once I get those things figured out, I can figure out how quickly I can write things, which is why there's so many novellas back to back, because they're short and it's more or less a reused plot over and over again with different kinks. So that's fun. So I plot out how much I can do, and then I put all my dates in, and then I usually have to read notes if it's a series to figure out what exactly was going on last time. And then I have like at the top of the document I put all my notes. If it's a lot of notes, it's a lot of the top of the document, and then I start writing, usually end up changing the draft about a third to half of the way through. I do some edits, and then I continue on to finish. Once I know that like the beginning and the end kind of mesh together, then I do a self-edit. Then I send it to my editor on whatever date that is, and whatever the date is that it needs to get to my editor kind of tells me how far in advance I need to start. Like the novellas, if I started them earlier than a week and they were done sooner, awesome. But I'm not super stressed about that deadline. The fantasy book, I'm going to start that as soon as I can when it's not going to clash with other things, because I take so long to write fantasy and I have no idea if I'll be able to hit that deadline. And I haven't put it into Kindle Unlimited yet because I don't trust it. So that'll be a much longer process. But I send it to the editor. Typically, if I'm not done with my blurb or anything yet, I get to that. I try to publish the blurb at least a month before the release so that people see it if they're looking for the books, especially if it's a series, and they have some context before release day. Also gives me time to check on Goodreads and make sure it actually transferred over. Usually about a week after the blurb gets published, I make sure that all the triggers are listed on my website. Sometime between then and when release day is, if it's a little further out, I do posts for like, here's the trigger list, here's the trope list, here's the blurb, and do little release posts for those too, which helps me with content. Once the revisions come back, I put them all into the correct files. I format all the files, so usually there's an ebook and a paperback. I also do the special editions, but it depends on how close to when I need the special editions on when those are getting formatted, because sometimes I don't format the special editions until I'm closer to a book signing, and I have a break between June and August for book signings, so probably not going to format in there anytime soon. So we'll see. After I format, order, especially the special editions, as fast as I can, get the ARC doc up. Sometimes if I'm behind, and this hasn't happened yet this year, but if I get super behind on the ebook and it's not finalized with editing, I put a little note in the ARC doc so that they know it's not the finalized, like it's still undergoing edits. Haven't had that this year, which has been nice, so we'll see. Send the ARC. Now I have PAs to help me do follow-up on future ones, so for March and beyond, hopefully, that will be very helpful. And then the release date and your release blast. And I usually try to market the book more and more the closer it gets to release. Um, Definitely need to work on my street team because I don't have that many people on it right now who are marketing, so gotta work on it. But that's my very messy process. However, it's been working because I have 20 books, something like that. I have a lot of books. So it's been working, and I'm going to continue doing it until it's unattainable. Okay, so after saying I have over 20 books, I thought I should show you guys that I'm not lying about that, in case you are new to me. So these two books don't count. This is the omnibus collections for all of these books over to the shorts. So this is a series. It's the Holidays and Hijinks series. It's complete. It's got the omnibuses. They just fit better over here than on my special edition shelf. And then I currently have the prequel and then the first 5 of the Sense of Secret series, plus this little novella is a holiday series. So that's 7 books there. So 7, 14, 15, there's my co-write, 16, 17, 18. Nevada's the one I'm working on right now. And then 19 is Down from the Tower. So Beneath Swan Lake will go over here at the end once I get that copy in. It's finished. I just don't have the print. I also have a book that relates to this series, specifically Xing out my exes. That's in the Rawhide Ranch series. It's called Mystifying Misha. So that book is completely finished since like January. I just don't have the physical copy yet. So technically I have 21. Swan Lake was my 21st book. And yeah. So that's it. This week was just basically me talking about all the stuff I overplanned for myself and how I live in a constant state of overstimulation, and I love it here. Mainly because I like releasing this fast. Depending on how it does sales wise, as far as if I end up making the same, more or less than I did in 24, will determine what I do in 25. This might be too rapid of a release schedule. It might be too much for readers who are new to me and too quick for readers to find me. Um, but we'll see. I'm already committed to these Off-Grid Billionaires books for the rest of the year. So eventually all the ebooks will be out too. I love my fantasy books. I love that I have an anthology book coming. It's my first paranormal book, and eventually it'll be a separate series. I also have my Patreon book, which I didn't even list anywhere for you guys. It's called Permanently Inked. It's like half to 3/4 of the way done. It'll be a duet. It'll end on a cliffhanger between the two. So I don't want to really put that on like ebook or anything until I know I'm almost done with the second part, so that there's not a huge gap in time and a huge cliffhanger. So that's all for this week. Thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble about all my plans. If you have any questions or whatever your process is, feel free to comment it below. My process is ever changing, so in a couple months it could be completely different, but right now this is what's working for me. Thank you so much. Remember to do all the clicks, and I'm glad you had fun sitting here with me listening to me ramble.